It's Friday night. Welcome to the after show on Narativ TV. It's so nice to be with you tonight. It really is fun. I love seeing you guys on a Friday. How are you, LB?
I'm really good.
And how are you doing, Greg?
Better than last week. A little tired.
Oh, yeah. I'm also a little tired. Oh, sorry. That's me. Yes. I've got my phone here so I can finally read people's chats as they're talking. So I turned it off now.
Oh, good.
Hi, Greg. How you doing?
I'm good and can we tease this, Zev? Is it okay
if you want to just do that right away? Yeah, if you would embarrass me.
What we did earlier in the week is, as some of you may know, I have a podcast of my own.
Really good one.
Not as intense as this one, but I have one. And my guest on an upcoming podcast, which we recorded this week, is going to be Zev Shalev. And we don't talk about Epstein and this and that. What we talk about is Zev Shalev, and it's really, really good. And I'm excited. I can't wait for everybody to hear it.
I learned a lot. I don't drag the great podcast that you do down, because I love your podcast, and I really want to live up to it. But it was interesting. It's different being on the other side of this thing. It's different when someone's asking you questions and you're like, okay, and I trust you. I'll go with it. But then you're like, oh, did I just say all of that? I think I just said all of that. It's that kind of interview.
It's really good.
I don't know.
Really interesting.
You guys just keep teasing about it. I have no idea what happened, but I'm very excited.
It goes places. It goes places. So that's a good tease. So that's coming up in the future. But you had a good podcast today as well. You were talking with somebody about truth and lies. And I will say I didn't listen to the whole thing because I had to do some research. But tell people what today's was about so they can download that as well.
Oh yeah, my friend Asia Radin wrote a book called The Truth About the Lies, and we talked about that. And it's kind of a fun conversation, more so than you would think. But the book is a lot about cons. It's almost a history of cons and why people get conned and why people believe things that they shouldn't believe. So it harkens back to sort of QAnon and people, the MAGA, and why they believe these things. But all this stuff is essentially part of, it's a con, and it's the same con all the time. It's just different people doing it and different technologies that we can use now to do it.
Can he explain?
Which isn't really what we talk about in the podcast.
Can she explain the phenomenon of people actually? I've been watching Donald Trump's, constantly being quoted as making some sort of return in August. I guess he's been telling people he's being reinstated, and the response almost uniformly on TV is that he's just crazy or unstable or delusional, he may be all those things. But in terms of this, it's not some delusion. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is fundraising, firstly, mostly fundraising, and maybe trying to start some sort of insurrection on insurgency, probably so he can make even more money and stay in, the head of this insurgency. So it's funny, and it's kind of comforting to say Donald Trump is crazy, because I like saying Donald Trump is crazy or delusional or insane or all these things. But in this case, he's actually making very serious statements that are going to affect the future of this country and could continue to, maybe divide us in a way that we don't want to be divided. So I just urge people not to just fall for these instant reactions that people have. Oh, he's crazy. We'll just throw that on the air or insult him on the air. I mean, he is very deliberately doing something, and his colleagues in Roger Stone and Matt Gaetz are all doing the same thing. They're all starting to talk about raising arms, and suddenly there's more talk of violent insurrection. I mean, we've just been through one. They weren't joking then. They're probably not going to be joking now. And certainly, over the next few weeks, as he does this road trip around the country, he'll be firing up more emotions like that. And so I'm not sure what the right answer is, but it's certainly not to say that he's insane.
It's interesting that the timeline keeps moving the timeline back. Like first it was going to be November that everything's going to, and then it's going to be January 6th that everything's going to, and then it's going to be March 4th that everything was going to be reverted back to normal. And then I think they skipped. Did they have a June date also? And now it's August, and they're just going to keep doing this for forever, right? They're just going to keep.
They could do an insurgency forever. I mean, if they're following sort of what happened in Angola and in other places, they could set up shop in a couple of these states and say, this is our territory. We control all the resources. We'll take some taxes. We'll do whatever we want, and tell people to just mind their own business. And if they, if it gets to conflict, it'll get to conflict. But this is a Russian playbook. We've seen it. This is exactly what happened in Eastern Ukraine. And most of Eastern Ukraine is still destabilized today. The Russians have been, fomenting some sort of uprising there for a while. They have their own troops dressed up as local militia, and they continue to try and divide their country, and the war continues until today. I mean, they're still fighting that war. So it's, they are good at following their playbooks, and this is just their playbook. So they might just do the same thing again here. We can't take all of this desire to rewrite all of what happened on January the 6th by the Republican Party. It's really serious. It's really serious.
It is serious. But we have time, and I would like to say, as someone who lived in DC for one malarial summer, I say, MAGA, go to DC in August. Wear fur, wear armor. You're going to really stand outside of the hot sun. You're really going to enjoy it. It's so much fun to be in DC in August in like lots of camo gear.
It is really warm. It is warm.
Yeah, with their tactical gear. Yeah.
Yeah. Just do that. You're going to have such a good time. It's so wonderful. It'll bring back Vietnam flashbacks.
Oh.
It's like the jungle there in August.
I know.
Yeah.
Look, he's not crazy, and that has to stop.
Mm-hmm.
He's hollow. He's just a hollow human being. There's nothing mooring him to anything but himself and his wallet. And so does he end up believing the garbage that is his con? Sure, until it's proven wrong or it doesn't work out. And then he never believed it. And he never said any of those things. And that's never there's no existential threat to him for doing his con artistry. Mm-hmm. I mean, he just keeps doing it and then rewriting it and going and it's all about cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching and getting attention. That's it, guys. He's done this his whole life. There's no moment where he's just all of a sudden he's lost his faculties and if he has, he's certainly not showing us that there's anything that's a greater deterioration than what we witnessed for 4 years in office and for those of us who knew what we were looking at and who he was for the 30 years of his career, 40 years of his career before that, whether it be in media or whether it be in, I don't know, construction, you want to call it that, right? His laundry. This is Trump University. This is Trump Water. This is Trump Steaks. This is Trump One magazine. This is, it's just endless with this guy.
It's all the casinos. I mean, how many times did he go bankrupt with those things?
Bankrupt with those.
And
he believes it until it doesn't work for him. Then he doesn't believe it. It's his fake art that he has on the wall. He believes that that's real and he's just going to keep saying it is until everybody else believes it. And then at the moment that the real one shows up, that's a fake. I always knew it was a fake. This is who he is. So you're right, that there's a lot of danger in continuing to talk about him all the time instead of addressing the very real threats that we've got to deal with going on right now in this nation. Is he some kind of, flagpole for these gross human beings to hang on to, thinking it's their savior and he's going to lead them somewhere? I mean, I guess, but the real threat is the party and how they've decided that his playbook is their winning playbook, and they're just going to do what he does.
Yeah.
They don't need him to lead them anymore. They're doing it.
I mean, clearly there's also a machine around him and all around all of them that's really driving all of this. I mean, he's not really driving an agenda. He is the figurehead of that agenda, but there's so much around him that's, all these moneyed people. I was interested to see that Facebook today, for some reason, chose 2 years as a extension on the ban, which most people are saying, oh, that's a great decision that they decided to extend his ban. But 2 years puts us just before the next election, which is kind of not actually a very good move. Yeah. So what? I mean,
but if he violates it, if they do lift it and he violates it again, they can crash down on it.
But he won't have that much time.
I can't stand that company. I
can't stand them at all.
They're doing, yeah.
But that was the reason he was able to fund his last election campaign, his last presidential campaign. There was all these micro donations. So suddenly, a few months before the next presidential election, he'll be allowed to do that again. I don't see any reason why
he has his blog. He has his blog in the meantime.
Oh, no, he doesn't. The blog died.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has a failed blog or two in the past.
We all have that. Oh.
In 1998, yeah.
But that was like peak blog, right? 1998, I think so.
Going back to just to circle it, Zev, back to the podcast this morning and Asia's book, You know, Trump is, I think one of the reasons why people have a hard time grasping Trump is because he's so many different things at once. He's, you know, basically a mafia guy and a criminal. We know this. He's a money launderer and all that stuff. He's a rapist, which we don't say enough. You know, he's a long history of sexual abuse of women. He is a horrible human being and all this stuff, but he's also a con man. And that's his thing. So reading that book, there was a con where after we acquired Alaska, this guy went up to Alaska in the 18, whatever this was, and he set up a telegraph office in Alaska. And you went in, it was right on Main Street, I forget what town it was in, and set up the machine and this, and you could go in and people would line up because it was the only telegraph office there. And you'd pay like real money, $1, $2 to send a telegram to somebody.
Wow, that's a lot of money back then.
There are no fucking telegraph lines to Alaska. The only telegraph line in Alaska was from the guy's, you know, machine to the wall of the office. And that was it. We just took people's money, typed out the thing, and basically threw it away. And this went on for years. And he had done a scam before that. And when he was done with that scam, he went on and did another scam. These people can't control themselves. This is all, it's about power, but it's also about a con and and just constantly never letting the possibility for conning people go. Right. He's a con man, and he also is a cult. You know, he's got the cult thing going now too. And Asia writes this in the book. The cult con is a con. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he sought out to become a cult leader as much as he is a con man who realized that was another con that he could exploit.
Oh yeah, so, it's just another game for him. It's just yet another play. He doesn't really. Yeah, I totally agree with it. You know, he's also got a machine around him, and it includes people like Roger Stone. I don't know if I should talk about this now, or whether we should talk about something else first. But maybe I could talk a little bit about Roger, because I've been doing this.
Yeah, talk about Roger.
I've been thinking, you know, there doesn't seem to be a great urgency around a big investigation. It doesn't seem like anyone seems to be that eager to have an investigation in the near future around what happened on January the 6th, which is shocking. I cannot believe we're in this situation where there's actually like question about whether we should investigate January the 6th. So I've been doing a lot more digging into it just because I want to know what happened. It's just part of what we need to do. And indeed, the DOJ today said there were going to be as many as 550 people indicted at the end of the day. 550. So it's certainly the biggest crime we've had ever, but no reason to investigate. Really, just let it slide by. There's no reason to try to figure out if our one political party did anything on that day that they should be questioned for. So as I was digging through all of this, I was like, you know, all roads sometimes lead to Russia in Nancy Pelosi's famous statement, but in many cases, it also leads to Roger Stone. And no matter where you look on January the 6th, it goes to Roger Stone. And now because we've got these new indictments and these new conspiracy charges that have been handed down by the prosecutors and the judges are now looking into hearing those cases, it's become clear to me that there's, you know, two sets of groups. There's the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers that very, very, very close to Roger Stone and in fact, physically close to Roger Stone. And I want to show you a couple of pieces of tape. Both of them show how close they were on January the 6th to Stone. So, you know, Stone was staying at the Intercontinental, which is really interesting as well, because the Intercontinental is just like about 2 minutes away from the White House. If you go in through the back of the White House, through the Treasury Department, you can just walk right into the east wing of the White House. You can have any conversations you want with the president, and no one would really know you entered that way. So that was interesting. Even though he claims he was there in his hotel room the whole day on January the 6th, it turns out he was also outside for a bit. And I'm going to find this tape. This always happens to me. I can never find tape. Here we go. So on that morning of January the 6th, this is him coming outside. And he's glad handling, he's saying hello to a lot of people, he's hanging out, he shows, he takes some pictures, and all these guys around him. You see these guys with these face coverings, and they all look like they're from militia groups, basically. This guy with this tarp, you'll see them in a minute. They surround him, and they're his bodyguards. And those are people that we now believe, I can say for the first time, part of the Oath Keepers. So as we watch this video just play by a little bit, I'll tell you who to pay attention to. There's the guy that's just coming up to the right of him. They're right behind him. You see the guy with the sunglasses? That's one of the Oath Keepers. And there's one more coming up. I'll show you who in a second. So now, how do we know it's these two? So it's interesting. These two people that are there are, one of them is called, I'm sorry, I should have done this a little bit more planned earlier, but I got it. You guys can say anything you want in the meantime, like how Roger looked on that day or something. Anything.
Oh, LB, your audio's out.
It's my mic. Were they identified and arrested, Zev?
They were there. They were indicted. Yes, at least one of them was indicted, and it's this guy on the left over here. This guy over here. You can see this guy. He's in that Roger Stone video. Who's right next to him over there. His name is Minuta, I believe, Minuta, and we know his name is Minuta because this, I believe, is him on the right. Later on in the day, he arrives at the Capitol, on a golf cart with a whole bunch of other people. Starts swearing at everybody. Starts, telling the police all sorts of nasty things, and then begins to take a big part in the insurrection itself. In fact, what he said that day is patriots are storming the Capitol building. There's violence against patriots by the DC police. So we're en route in a Grand Theft Auto golf cart to the Capitol building right now. It's going down, guys. It's literally going down right now. Patriots storming the Capitol building, fucking war in the streets right now. Word they got in the building. Let's go. So, I mean, he's a bad dude. Now, he's a bad dude who's also literally around Roger Stone all the time. He's one of the bodyguards around Roger Stone. He's there in that morning, hanging around with Roger Stone. And you imagine the golf cart was Roger Stone's golf cart because Roger Stone was using that golf cart to wander around DC that weekend. In fact, the other person that we saw right next to him there is this guy. His name is Hydro. That's his nickname, but his real name is Joshua James. Hydro. Hydro. It's so ridiculous.
G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe, yeah, Joe.
It feels like a bad episode of the A-Team or something, it's so cheesy. But there he was.
A-Team would never have something that bad.
And it's true. And there he is taking Roger Stone in a golf cart, probably the same golf cart the day before. They were all riding around, doing whatever. And so there's another Oath Keeper. So both of these two people, I don't know if both were indicted, but certainly one of them was indicted, is part of this conspiracy of 16 Oath Keepers. And the Oath Keepers, we know, are the people that sort of joined that military stack and wandered all the way up into the Capitol building, looking like they were about to fight a big battle. Now, it's interesting, just a little brief note about the Oath Keepers. The Oath Keepers were started by this dude. His name is Stuart Rhodes. He's a Yale graduate, and he's also Ron Paul's former aide in the House. Now everyone remembers Ron Paul.
There he is.
Yeah,
I heard about this guy. I don't think I saw a picture yet.
Yeah, well, there you go. Look
at him.
Yeah, he's very proud of his.
He knew how to grow his jihadi beard, didn't he? So he could shave it off and hope nobody recognized him.
I mean,
that's what they're doing.
That's probably what they're doing. But I mean, why would Yale grad leave Ron Paul's office and then decide, hey, I'm going to start a group called the Oath Keepers way back in 2010? Any guesses on why he would do something like that?
Let's ask Russia Rand. Maybe Russia Rand has an idea.
Russia Rand might have, Russia Ron might have. And also, it's interesting, Donald Trump might know, because the reason the Oath Keepers were even started was because of the birther scandal. The birther scandal is the reason that birthed the Oath Keepers. So if you go back to 2009, Obama just becomes the president. A lot of the right wing freaks out. Donald Trump shows up with his birther scandal, and Obama's not really a natural born citizen, shouldn't be allowed to be president. And Rand Paul's aide decides to start Ron Paul's aide decides to start an insurrectionist militia grouping called the Oath Keepers, which basically targets military people, mostly military people, for their ranks. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
you want Rand Paul
Greg's so quiet.
No, it's just
wait a minute. Let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm listening and learning. Just a point of clarification, Donald Trump didn't start the birther movement.
Okay.
It was someone else, but he picked it up and he ran with it pretty damn quick. So he had some kind of inside. I really truly believe he was connected in with all these groups of people back then, and because it was so fast that he was on it and running with it. And what people were paying attention to at the time was Donald was saying he had this team of investigators going to Hawaii and he had people blah, 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 and he was going to come out. Well, the other person who actually had sent these thugs to Hawaii, right? They actually did do that, was Joe Arpaio.
Right.
And it's interesting that Joe Arpaio ended up with Donald's first pardon when Donald was president.
I mean, I think these
there's
guys.
actually stuff to look at in those men of what might be connecting them. That's yet another story about Donald that gets, like he's crazy, even though he is nuts, but it doesn't matter. That's not what the behavior is. That he's somehow all these people are just sort of new to him in politics, and he didn't know them before, and he's just new to all this stuff. And I don't know who these people are, and but they're great patriots. That's all a bunch of horse shit too.
It is. It really is. I mean, this feels to me like actually a real indication that something was brewing as early as 2010 between Trump and these Oath Keepers and all these other groups, which makes sense in the greater history of everything. But we've never really thought about it going back to to 2010. That's almost 2 years earlier than most people would have suggested it started, maybe 5 years earlier. So big long-term plan.
He's known Roger for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
He's known Roger since Creep.
Right. Which Creep was Nixon days, right? How does Trump know Roger from Creep?
Well, they were in both New York and the degree to which Donald was down in Florida, I'm not quite sure. But the political machine and the fundraising machine that was around Nixon and that Creep was involved with, some of the darker characters in that were close with Giuliani and were close with Fred Trump, and because of Roy Cohn. So
now this picture is interesting. Sorry, I didn't mean to take you off camera there, but there you go. This picture is interesting. It's Roger Stone and Paul Manafort, way back when they had a consulting company together. Talk about a little Russian influence over there. I don't know who the other guy is here, but it was Mr. Black.
That's Black.
Yeah. And
is that Black?
Is that Atwater? No, I think it's Black.
It's Black.
No, that's Black. That's Black.
Yeah.
You're right. Everybody can't see what we see, but I have a little picture of myself covering up half of that. So I'm trying to see it.
So it's interesting that this does go back a long way, and the more you look at this, the more you see the same operatives in the same places over many decades, and it certainly surprised me to see that the Oath Keepers had their origins around the birthers and the birther movement. I got lots more I can talk about Roger Stone, but I'll leave that for a little bit later because you guys want to talk about all sorts of other fun things. Who wants to go next? Does anyone want to pick it up?
Well, I just have a complaint. So I'm sorry, everybody. I'm coming on Friday with a complaint. I don't have research. I don't have, a story to tell. If Greg gets in a good rant, I promise I'll cry, laugh for you if it's good enough, because I can't help myself with him. He just makes me laugh so hard. But here's my complaint. Where's the unredacted Mueller report? Where is the underlying evidence for the Mueller report? Where is all of this? We paid for that. Where's everything that we paid for that was supposed to be delivered, at least delivered to the Congressional and the Senate Intel committees? I know we had the Senate Intel Volume 5 and everyone's excited about that. But I believe everyone is still saying, can we please see this unredacted Mueller report?
Why not?
Please see all the underlying evidence. Where is it? Number one, I want to see it. And where is the congressional investigation that was launched in April of 2020 into the pandemic response, the administration's response to the pandemic? We were told right before the election in November that the House had completed their investigation, or they were ready with it. And then it got tabled because it was like, okay, that would excite the election. And so where's that? It's June 2021.
It's a good question. It's really a good question. I've
Where
not heard a thing about
is
this.
it?
Because, the only investigations, I mean, as I think you mentioned earlier onto me, that seems like the Republicans are after an investigation into the origins now, which is bizarre that they've
giving them
how did they win an advantage
all the runway, right? They'd be given all the runway to come up with their own investigations and their own horseshit, and they're just weaponizing it all. And we're sitting there going, well, can we see the shit that we already paid for, that you already have, that already happened? Some of it, 4 years ago? Are we going to see this?
There is some oversight going on. In the oversight committees, they have done some investigating around coronavirus. And there certainly seems to be a lot of graft and bad behavior, but nothing to the extent that we really think was there. I mean, as Greg, I know you've covered in your blog, and LB, you've often mentioned, Jared Kushner's role in basically bilking the entire population and possibly murdering hundreds of thousands of people is quite significant. There's a real possibility that's exactly what happened. And no one is looking into this. And it's kind of, possibly the biggest mass murder we know of all time.
Well,
this is why I want Glenn Kirshner back on here. I want to hear.
We can get
all right, Greg, sure. let me hear Greg. Make me cry, laugh, Greg.
Well, okay. First of all, LB, you don't understand. What you don't understand is how the law works and the Department of Justice works and how intelligence works. See, when we get information, we need to. Hey, I'm talking. I'm speaking. When we get information, we can't reveal sources or methods or anything, because if we do, then someone 50 years from now might get wind of how we operate, and then the entire country might be at risk. So protect the country from 25 years from now. We can't say anything now. Okay, that's the fucking shit.
Genius.
Well
done. Yay.
That's the fucking shit that we're all
yes.
Okay?
That's some good mansplaining. You did a good mansplain.
Thank you. I have points now. Okay, first of all, Comey. This began with fucking Comey and there were 2 investigations going on. He was investigating Hillary's bullshit email thing, which they knew was bullshit, and they were investigating, the other guy is in league with a hostile foreign power, which they knew wasn't bullshit. And the one that he told us about was the bullshit one about the lady, not the one about the guy that was in fucking bed with the Russians. We all knew that this was happening. And why couldn't he say that? Well, it's called Glomar. It's Glomar. Glomar. We Glomar. We can either confirm or
give me the fucking acronym. That's what I want.
When it's a national, it's not an acronym. It's the name of the submarine that they were working on. Anyway, this is just when it's a national security thing. We can't reveal the investigation happens because you see it's Glomar. This is all fucking stupid bullshit. Okay?
Oh my gosh, so, that's brilliant, brilliant. Well done.
He fucked it up. That tall ass motherfucker fucked it up and basically helped destroy the country. Okay. That's Comey. That's the first time this happened. Then we get Mueller. Oh, Mueller's going to come. And I thought, okay, Mueller's coming. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's doing this. He can't speak. Too. Trump can talk, but God forbid anyone on the Mueller team can say a fucking word, because you know what? Something might get out there. Again, something's going to come out. Yeah, we can't reveal anything that will be in the Mueller report. Okay, this week, actually, it was last week or 2 weeks ago, was the 3-year anniversary of the release of my book, Dirty Rubles, in which I wrote all the Russia stuff that was then known in the fucking media. A year after that, the Mueller report came out and basically just echoed everything that I wrote in my fucking... So where is even the stuff that's secret?
No, so why
the only thing that I learned by reading the Mueller report really is that, like, where the meeting with Kushner and the Russian bank guy happened, because I thought it was at Newark Airport. No, it was at a hotel in New York. Who fucking gives a shit? What exactly what's so secret that we can't know about? We already knew everything that was in the fucking report, okay?
That's
most
redacted.
Of it,
it's redacted. Most of the good stuff is redacted.
No, we can't. Redactions. We can't. Sources, methods, redactions. Fuck you with that shit. We need to know what's going on.
I have to be like Scarlett O'Hara.
It's going to be 5 years from now.
I don't understand how it works. Please tell me how it works. Oh, you're right. It all has to be secret. If only I knew. If only I had a Pacer account and I could know what was going on. Fuck off.
We're going to have like the American Lukashenko 6 years from now, and all of us are going to be in some goddamn gulag. But meanwhile, we can't reveal sources and methods because, security. Okay, then, after Mueller, we have Barr doing his bullshit. We can't find out about that. Then we have Volume 5 again. Can't reveal what was talked about. And then when we get the redactions, Paul Manafort was talking about a Ukraine peace plan. That's it? That's the fucking redaction? A Ukraine peace? That doesn't even mean anything. It's complete fucking toilet bullshit. And then now, and now, okay, we have two people in the fucking Department of Justice, LB, as you've said time and again, who need to goddamn talk. The first guy who you, to your credit, was suspicious of is this Christopher Wray. Can we have an FBI director maybe who didn't work for goddamn motherfucking Gazprom for 10 years? Can we find someone who doesn't have any fucking professional connection to the goddamn Russian mob to be in charge of the FBI? Is that too much?
Or the Federalist Society. Or the Federalist Society. We don't need someone who's a member of the Federalist Society.
Chris Christie's, leftover chicken in his belt.
Yeah,
I can't with this guy. Like this is Bridgegate guy. Yeah,
exactly. It's Bridgegate. Remember that? Remember that well-handled investigation?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It's Bridgegate guy.
How can we? Is there anyone worse than this? But get Asha Rangappa. Put her in there. Let her be the head of the FBI. Find someone who isn't goddamn complicit with this shit. Okay, we haven't heard a goddamn peep from that guy. He's basically a mime. He's like,
yeah. Oh, he came out today to tell people that,
that's not going to play well on the podcast. Though, on the audience.
Do that again. Do the mime thing again. God. See if you can find the wall.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're breaking through. You're cracking it through.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And now you have
oh wow. So
that is like that. It's a silent rant. And now we have and I'm winding down here. And now we have Merrick Garland, who again the clip from my podcast, which if you just go 5 minutes and 14 seconds into this, my fake ad, which is just
try to do this.
He hasn't spoken. There's a fucking insurrection. Yeah. Get on goddamn TV and talk to us. I don't need to know sources and methods. Blah, 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 blah. I don't give a shit about that. You don't have to
ruin the investigation. You're ridiculous. You have to grant jury indictments, and you're going to spoil the indictments.
The thing is, as it turns out, they said they couldn't do it. They couldn't even indict him. That's the thing. The whole thing was that they couldn't do it, and then they were keeping quiet because of this indictment that was meant to come. But then there was never an indictment ever, and any possibility of an indictment. It just makes no sense.
The whole thing is it's so ridiculous, and we need people to talk to us because I refuse to be on Twitter. Like, remember early on Twitter, we were like, oh, let's follow alt or rogue, whatever, some obscure, branch of government. It's like rogue federal broadcaster or whatever,
Yeah.
And we don't know. We're like, maybe somebody knows what's happening. Somebody's got to tell us what's happening.
Alt White House person.
Well, look, here's the thing.
I'm tired of this.
Yeah. Here's the thing. In 4 years ago, we're all learning how the process works, right? Especially when there's an investigation that is at the level that it looked from the beginning, and it did turn out in somewhat to be investigated into the sitting president of the United States for his campaign and how he actually even got into office. That involved a huge counterintelligence piece in terms of is he owned by a foreign asset, and did our enemies actually attack us with our president? One, is that part of the attack? And two, then all the obstruction of justice in volume 2 of, these, when you put mobsters in there and you put a mob syndicate in there, guess what they're going to do, everybody? They're going to obstruct justice, and they're going to tamper with witnesses. They're going to do all the shit that these guys have been doing for a century. They just do one or two things. There's not a lot of variation in there. So, okay, in that period, yes, I understand. Everybody be patient. Put your faith in the system. You don't want to spoil anything. Journalists who were leaking stuff, that's not good. Let's not do that. Let's protect the sanctity of this thing. All of that. Okay. And we learned a lot. We learned a lot about the process and how that works. Okay. I wasn't in the Havana room. And I wasn't in the back behind the curtain with the fat guy Kislyak and the other trolls and Lavrov and his big ass head and the Ukrainian peace plan and Kalimnik and Paul Manafort given. I wasn't there for that. But on January 6th, I sat and watched my fellow Americans besiege the Capitol. leading up to January 6th, because I have something called YouTube, this double secret Glomar thing. I had YouTube, and I could watch Roger Stone, and I could watch Paul Manafort, not Paul Manafort, Giuliani. I could watch these guys, and Mike Flynn. And now it's what they're doing. I saw the people with the T-shirts. We learned then right after it. We learned about Ginny Thomas paying for busloads of people to be coming in. We watched Josh Hawley with his fist up. We watched them orchestrate this whole thing, and we watched a gallows get constructed on our Capitol grounds, right? I didn't see the defecation spreading on the walls. That's probably the only thing we didn't really bear witness to. But we saw it. We experienced this. This happened to us. This happened to us. So come out and talk to us. You don't have to spoil anything simply by coming out and giving a weekly address to the American people about the most dangerous and serious thing that ever happened to. Holy shit, this happened to us.
Yeah,
right.
We have not had an update.
Same thing for just come and talk to us. That doesn't mean you're spoiling anything. And certainly, if there is going to be a message coming out of leadership, whether it's the Department of Justice or whether it's our administration now, that message should not be, yeah, we're just going to kind of move on and we just need to keep moving on. Holy shit, no.
So they would say,
and this I want to say this. Let me say this when my ancestor is behind me. I got the ancestors all around me. Let them hear it. Okay? Who built this nation. You know, people want to come for ancestry and come for family and come for lineage. You come up against mine. Good luck. So, you know, we've been in there from the beginning building this shit here. Okay? I remember, because I'm older than you guys, not by a lot, but I am older than you. And that made a difference in childhood in that I remember distinctly when Nixon was pardoned by Ford and he was let off. I remember what happened in my house with my parents and that outrage. It was such a profound moment for me as a child. And I remember it from my grandparents. And I just, look, that was an unacceptable thing that man was not held accountable. It was a huge mistake. The people who knew that it was a huge mistake knew it in the moment. I don't even think the folks that really understood that actually ever got over that. If this administration, if this House, if this Senate, and if this Department of Justice believe that they're going to be able to just round up a bunch of radicalized, you know, knuckle draggers and throw them into prison on, you know, you trespassed, and not go after the generals and not go after the leaders and not hold people accountable because they think it's too fucking difficult for this nation to survive or to get through. What I saw in my house, right, what I remember as a child, the outrage around Nixon just getting pardoned. I think across this nation, you're going to see a reaction to that. You want to be afraid? Be afraid of that, because that's a self-destructive act. That's a self-destructive act for everyone in a position of leadership to actually go along with something like, we're not going to hold the leaders of that insurrection responsible for the insurrection. That somehow that would be more difficult for a nation than it would be to prosecute them and bring them to justice and make sure that we rectify that incredible wound that they inflicted on us. Holy cow.
I just showed you in one of the Oath Keepers with Roger Stone that morning. They were together.
This is the wokeness. I don't want to hear about wokeness if these people are in a state of denial to where they think that we have not been paying attention to every single detail along the way. We know every single detail of what's going on. We have been digging it up ourselves because it's not really coming at us from you, because there's no leadership from the Hill, because there's no one talking to us in a meaningful way on a regular basis of what's going down at the Department of Justice. So we are keeping track of it all. We're spending our time, our energy, our money, our faces in our voices and our names and our reputations on platforms like this to continue to try to look at this and to understand what happened to us. Do not think that is a little thing that's going to just go away. because we have to heal or something. That's not healing. That's not healing. I don't know how to shake them up. I don't know how to shake these Dems up. Holy cow, they better wake up, because not everything's just going to be Eric Swalwell chasing Mo Brooks around trying to get him into a court of law. If that's what we're reduced to some level of accountability from the leadership role, the political leadership role, and even our military leaders, I am concerned about the Pentagon's role. I'm concerned about that, about Mike Flynn's brother. I am. What role did they have in that insurrection? You can't just round up the people who were radicalized and think that we somehow think there's a victimization card that they're going to be able to play in that as well, and not bring in the generals, and not bring in the planners, and not bring in the leaders, and not bring in the tactical folks that you were pointing out, Zev. They're getting some of them.
They're getting these guys, but they're not getting Roger Stone, and they're not getting Alex Jones, and they're not getting Michael Flynn. And those are the people that should be out there, because those are the people who ultimately put this all together. And so did Donald Trump. And it's provable that Donald Trump was involved in organizing this way, way, way back. So, and the Stuart Rhodes guy, I mean, clearly he is still in contact with that entire Tea Party movement that launched all of this, that Ron Paul and Rand Paul gave the world. Well, that's the Tea Party. Right. They gave him that. And out of that came January the 6th. And Stuart Rhodes is the guy orchestrating this whole thing. And you talk about the military, he's going in there and recruiting current military officials and soldiers, and he's enlisting them into this movement, which he claims is to protect the Constitution. But on the other hand, he feels like he can, have an insurrection and storm the Capitol on January the 6th. I mean, these people are they're all going to get off, I think, to a large extent. 5 people and 2 more, right, that perished afterwards, right? It's a total of 5 was the
and
total.
Defecate.
Yeah. But even regardless of all of that, even if they didn't.
And how many are wounded? How many Capitol Police are wounded? And try to disrupt our democratic process. They attack the democratic process.
That's the thing that I keep getting to. I mean, they try to overthrow the government. They try to take the legal vote.
Overthrow the government.
They overthrow the government and change the election result. So instead of Joe Biden right now, who's been doing pretty good job thanks to the will of the people, we would have Donald Trump in there right now if these people had had their way. I mean, it's not, and also under some sort of military rule. It's the most significant thing that's probably happened to America since, I don't know, the Civil War, probably. I can't think of anything that's been as momentous in terms of it being a challenge to the Constitution. And all these representatives sitting in the House who are, have to swear allegiance to the Constitution. They get in there, they do the oath, they raise their arm, they say this thing. They're all supporting this coup. They're supporting the overthrow of the government by hiding it, by having a cover up, why are they covering it up? They're covering it up because they are themselves involved in an unconstitutional crime.
Yeah. And you're right about it is in the Bill of Rights. It's the 14th Amendment, I believe, Section 3, which says that you cannot basically, sedition or treason with people or give aid or comfort to the enemy. You cannot serve in the fucking Congress. So these people need to be tossed.
That's right.
The other thing that's bothering me, I'm doing a little bit. It's time to be critical of Joe now, because ultimately, and I get, again, here's our guy from before. Well, the president and the attorney general, there needs to be a wall between the Department of Justice and the White House. We can't appear to be biased. But you know what, Joe? You can go and say that here, that was an attack on our democracy. I have instructed Merrick Garland to find everybody involved with it and lock them up forever. Go do it. Why do we keep bringing it up? Keep bringing it up. Yeah. The president needs to talk about this shit. It's fucking important.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any if the roles were reversed, not that we would ever storm the Capitol our side, but if the roles were somehow reversed, Trump wouldn't be like, well, I can't say anything. Forget it. You'd never hear the end of it if it was a Republican president.
It's what's June 6th, right? It's been 5 months. Is that right? Or 4 months?
June 4th.
So we're going to get to June 6th. What is that? January, February, March, April.
Sunday it will be
5 months. And we still have not had a proper briefing by anyone at the Department of Justice about what happened.
Sunday is D-Day, so maybe they'll fucking, take it to the Nazis.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You know what? I've not taken any commercial breaks. I realize we've just been talking for 50 minutes.
We went on a rant.
So, for all of you who are interested in all these things, yeah, I'm going to do this. Did you find it here? All right, we'll be right back. And we have lots more, actually. So come back. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
Now that summer is almost here and COVID is almost gone, this may be a good time to get some things off your to-do list, like maybe getting life insurance. You know, my mom is really good with finances, and she's always telling me, what about life insurance? It's so important. And I can tell you that Policy Genius is a great place to get life insurance because you can compare quotes from over a dozen top insurers all in one place. Why compare? Well, you can save as much as 50% or more of life insurance by comparing those quotes, and you could save $1,300 or more per year on life insurance by using Policy Genius to compare those policies for you. The licensed experts at Policy Genius work for you, not the insurance companies, so you can trust them to help you navigate every step of the shopping and buying process. That kind of service has earned Policy Genius a 5-star rating across thousands of reviews on Trustpilot and Google. This is how it works. Getting started is really easy. First, you head to policygenius.com, and in minutes, you can work out how much life insurance coverage you need and compare personalized quotes to find your best price. When you're ready to apply, the Policy Genius team will handle all the paperwork and scheduling for you. Policy Genius never sells your information to other companies, and that means you don't have to worry about your privacy, and they don't add extra fees. Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com to get started right now. Policy Genius. When it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. Now that summer is almost here and COVID is almost gone, this may be a good time to get some things off your to-do list, like maybe getting life insurance. You know, my mom, I don't know what's going on there. There you go. I apologize for that. Too many buttons to press over here. In fact, I don't even want that thing to be playing in the corner, but there you go. So yeah. Wow.
I was looking at some of the comments while we were on break. That was good. And at the idea of Asha being the next FBI director is everyone's very excited about that.
How do we get that happening? I mean,
how do we make that happen?
Yeah, I'm sure
maybe she needs to go work for Gazprom for a couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, Rosneft.
Well, you know, it's interesting because, you know, this
Deutsche Bank.
The Oath Keepers, now brought to you by the Rand Paul and Ron Paul Legacy Foundation, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, do you know how many times Ron Paul went to Moscow in 2012? I bet you don't know how many times Ron Paul went to Moscow in 2012. Twice. Why would Ron Paul go there? Why would he go there for twice in 2012? And Rand Paul, remember when Rand Paul went to drop off a letter with Vladimir Putin that was handwritten by Donald Trump? Such an interesting thing to fly all the way to Moscow to give a letter to Vladimir Putin. Wasn't even there. And then he invited all the senators to come back, all the Russian senators to come and visit the United States because we really need.
Well, it was about engagement, Zev. You know, you got to engage.
You got to engage.
Libertarian, engage, strength, project strength. He also hung out with that guy Kosachev, who, according to the Steele dossier, is the guy that was hooking up with what's his nose in Prague. So you know, this guy is John McCain said he was working for Vladimir Putin. So John McCain
did.
So this is the same guy that basically birthed
I have a philosophy.
Oath Keepers.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, he did. And well, for libertarians, you know, which is there's a sketchiness in there as a party. I'm not talking about the philosophy, but as a party, there's a lot of sketchiness in the libertarian. But I also don't get, if you're such a hardcore libertarian and you don't think the government should be involved in anything, then why are we paying you?
Right.
Why are you taking a paycheck? Why are we paying for your flights all over the place? What are we, you know, how is that philosophically consistent there? You know,
it's an interesting question.
Why are you serving?
Look, the Onion destroyed libertarianism in 3 sentences like 20 years ago. In fact, after we're done here, I'm going to tweet it because it's so fucking funny, and it just, you know, basically, libertarian reluctantly calls fire department, I think is the headline. And come on. Also, Ron Paul, libertarian, everyone writes, blah, 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 but except for abortion. Can't have that.
Yeah.
I mean, Rand Paul
and the most, you know, the government, hands off the government, except for in your couldn't be more private.
Yes, except for the most important parts of your life.
Then we want the government there. so stupidly inconsistent.
He's also the guy, every time Dr. Fauci's on the is giving any testimony right now, Rand Paul is the guy diving down his throat, making these stupid debates about absolutely nothing. But it's like, it's clearly Russian talking points. I mean, everyone says we blame the Russians for everything, but this is clearly like a Kremlin talking point. That's not something that anyone else has any interest in pushing. This vaccine's not working thing. It's just this is basically the Kremlin talking through the mouth of Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci having to take this bullshit when he's there every time. And now, if you turn on Fox News all the time, they're busy saying that it's all about that Fauci knew ahead of time. They found this old clip where they keep playing that Fauci predicted that the pandemic was going to come during the Trump administration. And if you actually listen to the clip, he was sort of, talking generically, but they were able to cut it out of context and say, there he is predicting that the pandemic was going to come a year before the Trump administration started. I mean, it's just like the selection of news choices and the things that are putting on the air instead of what the real news is. It's just shocking, really shocking.
Wait. So the guy who specializes in studying pandemics predicted when the next pandemic would come? Get right out of town. Why is that even a thing? It's like, because
he said specifically in the next administration they're going to have to contend with a surprise pandemic. Well, which I think he meant. I mean, I don't know what he meant, but I suspect he meant, pandemics are coming. It's like saying the next earthquake's coming. The next earthquake is coming. So it's that kind of thing.
That's why there was an entire pandemic response playbook that was left behind by the Obama administration for the Trump administration, so that they would not be caught unprepared with a plan of action should a pandemic hit. So the weaponization of all of this is the hard rights, just the right, central right, moderate rights now, moderate Republicans now going after Fauci with some conspiracy theory, doing this, whipping all this up. While also having held on to this thing while 500,000 of us were dying, that it was all a hoax, right? Or we don't need the vaccine, or the vaccine's this, but now somehow this thing is very real. This cognitive dissonance, right, is about making all of us upset. They know they're inconsistent. They know that their base will selectively choose and listen to what they want and believe what they want and just pick. Here's the Chinese buffet of narratives. Pick whichever one you need to fit so you can feel comfortable about your own garbage belief sets, right? That's what it is. It's just a buffet. It's a buffet. Maybe it's more like the Sizzler buffet than the Chinese buffet, but that's all it is. Just pick what you like. You can take the pasta and then you can put the onion rings on it, and then you could put some ice cream in the corner, and then you can put a taco sauce on it.
Yeah, and you can all the olives. You don't want the olives? No problem. Just forget about the olives.
As long as there's no sneeze guard, because sneeze guards that protect the salad are infringing on my rights. Get rid of the sneeze guard. We don't need them.
Get rid of the sneeze guard. We're going to boycott. Well, if you need to protest something because you're so upset about the fact that your older brother is a successful accountant and you're sitting around, staring at your long toenails, then you can put your rage onto the sneeze guard. Yeah, that's on the buffet too.
But it's all so on the buffet. I mean, every argument they're making is countered by the next argument. So now they want an investigation into the origins of coronavirus. Last year, they were telling us that they didn't even think the pandemic existed, basically. I mean,
let's bring it back around. Okay, so let's bring it back around, Zev, to what you were saying in the very beginning. That was, about Donald, right? Mm-hmm. And about his personality. It's just a whirling dervish. So it's so much stuff being thrown at us. So as long as everyone's distracted by continuing to try to handle or manage or report on or respond to their garbage, then we're not doing the important work that we need to be doing, like unredacting the Mueller report and all the underlying evidence and show us what you found in your House investigation into the pandemic response. We're not asking that. We're not talking about that. We're instead talking about the contradictions that
I think that's the big thing is every scandal just covers up the previous scandal. So January 6th covers up for coronavirus. We forgot about coronavirus because now we've got another thing to talk about. And so that's, it's just the descent into chaos. And it's just, It's just frustrating and annoying. And no one's doing the work. No one's actually, in the meantime, investigating what happened in either of these things. And I want to know what Jared Kushner thought, or I don't know what he thought, but what did he do that for? Why did he decide to kill so many people? I mean, what was going on in that man's brain? Because I don't see the money trail yet. I know there was money there. But,
monster? I don't know.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, I know there's
we haven't
money
seen the money.
We don't know where.
See the money. There's so much we haven't. We don't. That's discoverable. This isn't mysterious stuff. And okay, let's have the voice now, because we'll have the peanut gallery mansplaining to us that we just don't understand how the Department of Justice works, and if things are in some kind of sealed indictment at the grand jury, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
The forensic accounting, you can't, for evidence to be stolen away, we have to really make sure that we have an airtight indictment. The indictment has to be airtight. Before the indictment's airtight, you can't move on any thing.
But this is the game. This is the game that they're playing. And you know what? Who plays the game better than anybody else? Who invented this game is Rudy Giuliani. He knows what they're doing. They know they can punch this down the line as much as they want. He's the guy who made all this up back in the 80s. He knows exactly how to drag a court case out for as long as he needs to, and then let the guy off at the end, as he did with so many bigwigs in the 1980s, including Adnan Khashoggi.
I'm surprised, by the way, that we haven't talked about
a little drop right there. Good for you, Zeb.
Right. Remember that case? I remember that case.
Yeah, I remember that case too. Imagine that.
We have not talked about the biggest scandal.
Sorry, missed that.
Oh, no. You're talking about the money. I don't want to. No, because the biggest scandal of the week.
No, I just did a side comment to Zeb. Yeah. Okay. What's the biggest scandal? What's the biggest scandal?
I mean, I'm still outraged about it. It's because Kamala Harris said, have a nice long weekend. I mean, you want to talk about the world ending. How dare she? How dare she wish me to have a good time on a holiday weekend? That's the first time we can go outside in a fucking year and a half. What a monster. I mean, can you imagine? Memorial Day, the day when all of America just goes to the graveyard and just stays there for 12 hours. I still don't understand what the fuck. I don't understand that at all. I do not understand.
Can I just say something about Kamala? Because I think this woman is taking
fake
on
patriotism. I was at my grave site,
but she has taken on every major portfolio now, and she's not kicking it. Every single thing that she's taken on, she's done really well. And now she's got two more. She's got the voters' right bill that he added to her portfolio. She was just trying to figure out how to stop the immigration from coming from all these South American countries, and she's been doing an absolutely remarkable job, and quietly. But I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of her. I think her year in training has happened, or half year in training, and she's going to be emerging as quite the apparently very effective leader. Apparently making things happen quite well. And I think people are maybe underestimated her, maybe didn't expect that she would rise to the challenge, but I didn't. I think she's the one to watch as we head into 24. And I don't know who they'll put up against her, but they're not going to win. I don't think. If depending if Biden doesn't run, of course. Do you think he's going to run?
Right. Well, I mean, Greg, I'm waiting to see Kamala do what Greg. I can't remember that wonderful woman, Greg, that you had write the article about how she's actually the president of the Senate.
Socrates. That's Socrates, Lisa Shakir.
Socrates.
Yeah, well, she can't. She hasn't needed to yet because we won.
Can she kill the filibuster? Can she be the extra voice, the extra vote to kill the filibuster?
I don't know. I don't know the first thing about parliamentary.
Well, she can. Yeah.
If she can, then she just.
Well, let's bring Lisa back.
We should bring Lisa back. I'm really curious about that, because she was right about that.
Lisa back.
Because they used that. Pence used that a lot in the last administration. Every time they needed an extra vote, Pence came down and said, "Oh,
this wasn't an extra vote. Her thing wasn't the vote.
We've always done that.
Right.
The issue is that she can say, "Oh, Mitch McConnell, you're not actually the Senate, but I'm the vice president and I control the Senate. Fuck you, sit down."
Right.
And there's nothing he can do about it. That was her argument, except that we won the Senate.
Right.
So we have chosen, as the Democrats, we've chosen our Senate majority leader, and we've also chosen Mitch McConnell, apparently, because he's getting his fucking way.
Yeah. Well played. That's right.
I don't get it. I do not get the Chuck Schumer thing. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on there. I'm going to be patient and whatever, but there's not much room or not much time, because it's June. It's June. They're going to be around for very much longer in this session, and they're in the elections already. So, And if everyone's predictions are somewhat accurate, I cannot believe this is true, but most people believe that the Republicans will win back the House next year. I mean, that seems to be the prevailing theory out there, based on just the redistricting alone.
Then get ready for this. Yeah. We can't indict the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, because he's the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, he's the Speaker of the House. He's in line. He's in line for the succession, right? But that's the timing. The timing is really important here. I don't think people are really paying enough attention to the fact that all that Mitch is thinking is just get me to the end of the next session, and then it's mine again. So who knows? That was the House, by the way, not the Senate that they'll win, but who knows what will happen in the Senate. What else should we talk about? We're almost out of time. We might be out of time.
I think we're out of time.
We're out of time. I just wanted to end with something fun. I got something fun here. I finally set up your.
Oh, good.
But I've got your thing.
Let's hear the ad. Okay, good.
Ad, I believe. Let's see if I can get it right. Okay, let me see.
Okay. They vanished without a trace, leaving behind no clue of their whereabouts. Follow along with detectives, friends, and family as we uncover the timeline of their mysterious and unexplained disappearance. Missing Persons on the True Crime Podcast Network. This week's episode, Attorney General Merrick Garland. He came into the Department of Justice with a fanfare. He was a champion of truth. He wept at his confirmation hearing. He hasn't been heard from since. Don't miss Missing Persons, DOJ, now streaming.
That's it. That's all. Yeah.
There it is.
Doesn't sound like me, does it?
Huh? It doesn't sound like you. No, it does not sound like you.
It's a really good one.
Yeah.
It's a really good one.
That was really well done. Really well done. I can't believe it's you, actually. And the first few times I heard your podcast, I wasn't paying enough attention. I was like, it's really interesting ad that they got playing there. And I thought it was really I didn't listen to you play the ads. I never listened to the words of the ads. I just thought the crime time things was really interesting. So there you go. You got a future in voiceover work for the cable networks, for A&E or something.
I always do fake ads, by the way, right at the beginning of the show. I think maybe people just skip it every time.
It's almost needs like a little bit more of like a ta-da. It's gonna be funny right here.
It's my favorite part.
It's very well done.
Well, we had Greg. I'm going to tease a little bit for World Beneath. So
yes.
So I had and Greg. They actually used the other audio, which was interesting. But I had a line, the very famous gangster, that needed read, and Greg gave me a bunch of readings because actually the silent one gave me the first reading, and I'd spent time with him. And if you listen to the audio of me coaching him and trying to sort of get some variations on this line, it's just one line. It was just one line. Do you remember it, Greg?
Am I allowed to say it?
Yeah, you can say it.
Wait, what's the word?
You stick to your
trade. I'll stick to mine. Yeah.
Right.
Is that
that's the line. And the silent one was giving it. And I did like 11 takes with him. And he gave it the same way every single time. He couldn't hear. It was different.
He did. No, I know. I don't know if he's listening, but I just want to say he did not do it the exact same way. He did not. He did respond to the direction. I think you're being a little harsh.
No. He admits it. He was on the floor laughing when he listened to it because in his mind it was totally different. Anyway, we ended up using it, but Greg gave me. He's like, okay, I'll take care of this for you. He gave me 5 different readings in 5 different voices, totally different. I was like, wow, man. All right. I'm going to find a bigger
talented,
part
this guy. I'm telling you.
I'm going to give a bigger part for Greg Oliar.
What's your dream part in the next season? Do you have a dream part in the mobster world?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
No, I don't have a dream mobster part. But, I can do New Jersey mobster till the cows come home.
I think you can. I think you do a pretty good job of that. So
really good.
The World Beneath begins when?
Yeah, when?
I can't say the date yet.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. There's all
you?
these sort of rules. I'm so sorry. I know you thought you get me. It's sooner than what you think. It's sooner than what you think. It's not going to be late in the summer or anything. It's coming. It's coming quick. We're going to do a whole thing. There's a whole other package that we're going to let. I just talked to in the studio today. So that Zev is going to be able to play for everybody. We'll just give it to you, Zevin.
Cool.
Because
That's
you've been
exciting.
so supportive and so amazing. Yeah. And so it'll be part of that, and then every little step along the way, there'll be a little bit more stuff. That's just how they want to do it.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be so exciting. And it's perfect for the summer. I mean, I can't think of a better thing to sit and do in the summer, but just listen to
okay, so wait, we should have a contest. And here's this is how we can end on this. Which thing will happen first? Okay, Netanyahu actually leaves. LB's podcast comes out.
That guy.
Wow.
Merrick Garland actually speaks to us. Those are the three things. Which one is going to be
I win.
LB wins for sure. There's no doubt. There's no doubt of that. I am not. I don't think Netanyahu is ever going to leave, but we'll see. I mean, there's a coalition there. We'll see what happens. Yeah. He's got to leave. He's got to leave. I think it's time. It's time. He can't stay in charge for things like that long. Nobody likes him. Not that matters anymore. Well, that's a good way of ending the show. And thanks for being here. We'll be back on Tuesday. There's so much other good stuff I keep investigating on January 6th, but I'll fit that into Tuesday's show. And also the Queen has a dinner with Joe Biden coming up soon, which is, would you like to be on fly on that?
How can we not talk about the Queen?
How can we not? We're not going to. We'll talk about it next time. On that note, thanks very much for joining us. Patreon.com/narrative for your donations or otherwise for narrative, or tell us about yours, Greg Oliar at Prevail.
Oh yeah, it's Prevail.
At Prevail.
On Substack and on my
okay, well there you go. Podcast. And LB's podcast is called The World Beneath.
The World Beneath.
And that's all happening this summer. And that's all we got. So have a great night, everybody. Narrative is funded by viewers like you. Support our independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative.